A new study finds a steep rise in hostility toward religion in the United States of America, particularly toward Christianity. I'm Matt Barber, Vice President of Liberty Counsel Action. Joining me again today in studio is Shawn Akers, Liberty Counsel's Vice President of Middle Eastern Affairs. Shawn, our friends at One News Now report that a new survey conducted by two conservative groups reveal proven hostility toward Christianity in the U.S. and that it's on the rise. The joint study from Liberty Institute and the Family Research Council records up to 600 incidents of hostility toward religion, most of which have occurred within the last 10 years. And they give as an example, a Christian couple was fired at an apartment complex as managers of that complex and forced to move because a painting with a Christian reference was displayed in their office. That's just one example, but this study lists 600 plus examples. Liberty Institute attorney Justin Butterfield said that what his group hopes to accomplish with the study's findings is this, quote, "We want to raise awareness of the issue. A lot of people think that hostility because of people's religious beliefs and attacks on religious liberty are things that happen elsewhere in the world, not in the United States," he notes. "We just want to show that it actually happens with increasing and alarming regularity here in the United States." And Shawn, I would add that there are people controlling the reins of government that are spearheading this hostility we see toward Christianity. President Obama's Health and Human Services mandate requiring, for instance, that Catholic and Christian organizations fund abortions through abortifacients and sterilization and so forth. We are seeing, I think, more so than any time in history, a demonstrable hostility toward religion, particularly Christianity in the United States of America.
And you're seeing it in more than one form and from more than one speaker. You're seeing it both privately on behalf of a body politic that is increasingly becoming hostile to Christianity, and even as or more frightening as the official acts of different levels of government. Mm-hmm. We're not completely unused to this kind of thing, but the fact that if you put it on a chart, this study is giving great validity, showing that it's definitely on the uprise. Matt, listen to some of these that they have listed of these acts that are hostile to religion, and especially Christianity. A federal judge, and I'm reading this from the report, mm-hmm. A federal judge threatened incarceration, Matt, to a high school valedictorian unless she removed references to Jesus from her graduation speech. Yeah. Now, let's put that in perspective. She's not an employee of the state, but if this child who earned the right to be valedictorian and to say whatever she wants to say, it's still free. It's still, for the moment, a free United States with free speech rights. He threatened her with incarceration, according to this report, unless she removed any reference to Jesus from her speech.
Well, and another instance that the study addresses, of course, Liberty Counsel was deeply involved in Santa Rosa County, right, Florida, yeah, where administrators at a school were literally, the ACLU wanted them thrown in jail for praying over a meal. Fortunately, Liberty Counsel was there to defend them, and we prevailed. In that case, here's another one. City officials prohibit senior citizens from praying over their meals, listening to religious messages, or singing gospel songs at a senior activities center. On and on the list goes, Shawn. There are 600 plus, and we can get into some more examples here. But I think what is chilling here again is that, and as the executive summary points out of the study, this is by no means exhaustive. These are just 600 examples that we happen to know about. I mean, there are multiple examples out there that we never hear anything about, and this just, I think what it does is it underscores this climate of hostility toward Christianity, particularly here in the United States, led by secular socialists, those who seek to redefine and reinvent and recreate an America, to fundamentally transform America, to borrow from President Obama, to fit their own secular socialist self-image, to do away with our founding, our true history, and to instead move toward a Euro-socialist kind of model that is, as part and parcel, hostile toward religion.
You know, this is why it has become so important, Matt. Two of the most important groups in the United States are a well-informed citizenry that understands the mind of the founders, that holds that Judeo-Christian worldview that drove the United States to begin with, and that is willing to be the one to pay the price to say, you can't stop me from praying over my meal. You're not going to stop me from mentioning Jesus. And then secondly, are groups like Liberty Counsel. This is why this ministry, this organization is so important, because if you don't have those two things, one, citizens that will stand up and say, don't tread on me, and groups like Liberty Counsel that will say, we'll represent you in the halls of power so that you're not tread upon.
Right.
This stuff takes over. It's like the bully who keeps taking people's milk money until one day some kid turns around and says, you're not going to take mine without a fight. The bully usually becomes a paper tiger at that point, because he didn't want to get smacked around by the kid who's just not going to give his milk money up. The kid may get beat up, he may lose, but he's going to fight back. In our case, we very seldom lose these rights. They are so blatantly self-evident, is what the founders called them: the right to life, the right to liberty, the right to the pursuit of happiness. They're so self-evident that we very, very seldom lose these fights. So it's important for our listeners to support this organization, and when you find yourselves as the citizen whose rights are being trampled, don't take it sitting down. Fight.
Absolutely. Well, and you're absolutely right. We have, Liberty Counsel has a 90% plus win record against groups like the ACLU, for instance, the American Civil Liberties Union. We need to be very clear. That's because we are on the side of the Constitution. The ACLU and other anti-theist organizations like Americans United, People for the American Way, they seek to circumvent and undermine the Constitution. That's why we win 90% of the time, because we happen to hold steadfast to the Constitution, and the Constitution undergirds the arguments that we make. Well, folks, the study is available at a website. The Family Research Council has set up a website, religioushostility.org, religiousHostility.org. You can download the report there. But again, just a few more examples, Shawn. Following a U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs policies, a federal government official sought to censor a pastor's prayer, eliminating reference to Jesus during a Memorial Day ceremony honoring veterans at a national cemetery. Public school officials prohibited students from handing out gifts because they contained a religious message. A public school official prevented a student from handing out flyers inviting her classmates to an event at her church. These are gross constitutional violations, but this is what we have come to expect from secular socialists, and this, again, illustrates the climate of religious hostility in America.
You know, Matt, it is. Let me add one more. And imagine, though, let's put this in context, and imagine the founders of the United States sitting around as this happened, and ask yourself, what do you think the response would be? A public school official physically lifted an elementary school student from his seat, physically picked this child up out of his seat and reprimanded him in front of his classmates for praying over his lunch. Now, you know, I don't know about you, Matt, but when I look back at the Bill of Particulars that the founders included in the Declaration of Independence, if some representative of England had ripped a child up out of his seat and reprimanded him for praying over his lunch, I kind of think something like that would have found itself into that Bill of Particulars. Now, what I'm getting at there is that we are watching liberty erode, not just at the state of natural entropy or some sort of natural erosion of morals. We are looking at a vicious attack where you are literally at the level now where children are being picked up out of their seats and reprimanded for praying over their meals. Now, that says something.
Well, that's where we are, folks. The hostility against religion, Christianity in particular, has reached such heights that government officials are physically assaulting children for praying over a meal in the schools. That's not hyperbole. That's a specific example of the hostility we've been discussing today. Again, to download this report, go to religioshostility.org, put together by our friends at the Liberty Institute and at the Family Research Council, religioshostility.org. To find out more about Liberty Counsel's ministry, go to lc.org or give us a call at 1-800-671-1776. We are here to stem the tide, the tsunami of religious hostility we face in America.